Today we're going to talk about foolproof ways to find points deals. Hope that's okay. Don't leave. This one's better, I promise. All right. So today we are going to cover where you can find and book all the flight deals you see on Instagram. Because is anybody here like, all right, I followed a whole bunch of these people on Instagram. They told me to get this credit card. They have photos of themselves in Singapore suites. And there is a missing middle piece there of what nonsense magic happened. Anybody else being like, how did we get from get a Chase Sapphire Preferred, I don't know if I can say that word out loud, but how you can get from here to Singapore suites. All right, we're gonna cover that today. We're gonna cover how we can reliably find business class deals for clients, our Patreon members, all these people who send in requests to me being like, I need seats for 5 humans and a dog. And I'm like, oh my God, the weird requests we get. And my favorite tools for finding these flight deals, many of these are free. And also which deals you can't find by using these flight deals. So, about me, if you don't know me already, I'm Julia. I hang out mostly on Instagram at GeoBreezeTravel. If you want step-by-step video tutorials of how to do a lot of the things that we're gonna walk through today, I have those for free on YouTube. It's very like, click here, then you should see this, and this is what you look for, and you need business class parentheses I. That's how you know it's a saver space. All that's on YouTube in my monotone voice. My mom falls asleep to my YouTube videos, because she's like, in a wholesome way, she's like, I love falling asleep to Julia's voice. It's like she's here. And in a not wholesome way, she's like, it's so boring, and like, I don't know what's going on. So she falls asleep to my YouTube videos. So I host the GeoBreezeTravel podcast. I've interviewed almost all the speakers, or they're on the roster of people I need to interview, and a lot of the world's top award travel experts and industry experts. And I make step-by-step tutorials for how to convert your points into luxury travel, so you're not just like, I have a credit card and a dream, and that's all I got. All right, you've all heard the myth, Tuesday is the best day to find flight deals. It's not true. It's false. This is false. Tuesday is not the best day to find flight deals. But do you know when is the worst day to find flight deals? The worst day to find flight deals is the day you need to find a flight deal. Because if you search on this day being like, I gotta get home, the universe is gonna laugh at you, and then you're gonna write to me, and I'm gonna laugh at you, but I'm gonna like say encouraging words, but just know that in my DMs, I'm going, that's not happening. All right, so it's best to start searching for flight deals 10 to 11 months before your travel dates, especially who here is booking for like 3 people or more most of the time, like family travel. Yeah, the further out you can search, which I know can be a challenge, but you all have access to the school calendars. So start searching out as far as you can, or be last minute if you're like, I'm an agent of chaos, here we are. Children, surprise vacation, not sure where we're going, but maybe somewhere. The more flexible you can be, the better your redemptions are gonna be. So this means flexible with your dates, which is more doable for some people than others. Flexible with routes and airports and positioning flights. Flexible with different kinds of points currencies, because if all you've got to work with is Delta miles, there's not a lot you can do. But if you have lots of different transferable currencies, you have more options and you're gonna get better redemptions. A lot of people ask, how do I know if this is a good redemption? I like the 10K rule. And this is, I will pay, and I would recommend that you pay no more than 10,000 points per hour of flight time in business class, not including any layover time. So for example, if it's gonna take you 8 hours to fly from Chicago to Germany, don't pay more than 80,000 points for that. It's a 5K rule for economy. This isn't a hard and fast rule, and you can oftentimes find better flight deals than this. This is just a rule to keep you from egregiously paying more than you should, so you don't end up blowing like 250,000 points to do this flight. There's a lot of different free tools that can help you do these things, and it depends on your search style. So is anybody here like, I'll go wherever, just help me get the best points deal and maximize my cents per point? I like the free Rooms.travel newsletter for this. They'll just send you flight deals and be like, we found ANA first class, hope you're single. And then you book it. So you're there, if that's your style. If that's not your style, then you're like, who's like, I have specific dates and routes that we need to do. Okay. I recommend trying out the free version of Point Me. You can do this through the Built app, through the AMEX app. It'll filter to Built Transfer Partners or AMEX Transfer Partners, but they cover pretty much all the good ones between those two. So you can access Point Me that way if you want the free trial. Is anyone like, I want as many deals as possible. I need to know all of my options. Anyone want all the options? Okay. I would start practicing with a free trial of Seats.aero. A lot of the examples we're going to go through is with the pro version of Seats.aero. I don't know if anybody here is actually in the Points Accelerator, which is my course, but if you are, you have a free trial of Seats.aero in the course, so hope you took advantage of that. And also, you can use a lot of the airline websites because they're pretty good for just finding award seats there. You don't have to book through those websites. You look there, and we're going to go over that. The US-based IT teams tend to be a little bit better. So like United.com, AA.com, Delta.com, Southwest.com, they have pretty decent calendars where you can find the best award deals, but you don't have to book them there. Virgin Atlantic has the reward seat checker, which is pretty good. British Airways sometimes has like a calendar you can click on for more days for award availability on peak and off-peak days. Air France is great. If you are searching on Air France or KLM, just leave the date blank. You all know that trick, right? Leave the date blank, and then it'll show you the full calendar. You can just pick which dates highlighted in green are the cheapest dates to fly. So those are some free tools that you can use to find some flight deals. But let's go through some examples. So this is Seats.aero. If you're looking for, let's say you want to get from the East Coast over to Europe in business class next summer. So what I would do is click on the search tab here. You don't have to type in every airport you're willing to fly from. They have a lot of geocodes, like EST means all of the East Coast airports. So I would just type in EST, and then destination airport, EUR. And then if you're good with any time in June or July next year, I would just pick the midpoint, so July 1st, plus or minus 28 days, and then click search. I also filtered this to anything with points less than 125,000. It says that the best options are to fly from JFK to London Gatwick for 45,000 points with Alaska miles. But let's say you're like, well, I'm a little picky. I want to fly specifically, not just from East Coast, but you can search for Philadelphia. Still to Europe, and still next summer, but let's say you don't have Alaska miles, you don't have Built miles, and you decided to completely disregard the fact that you can just move Amex points to Hawaii and to Alaska, or they get rid of that by the time you watch this recording. So let's say you only have Chase, Amex, and Capital One, and you want to fly directly from Philadelphia. You still have options. Now you can transfer your Capital One or Amex points over to Qantas and fly from Philadelphia over to Lisbon. It's 57,000 points per person, one way, in business class. Not bad. A little bit more than the Alaska option, but not bad. But let's say you're even pickier. Let's say you want to fly from Philadelphia to Germany specifically in business class next summer. You've got Chase, Amex, Capital One points, and you need 4 tickets. What are your options? Nothing. You get nothing. There are no business class options anymore. So, what is a girl to do? You all know this TikTok song, right? Looking for a man in finance, 6'5", trust fund, blue eyes. Yeah, this is how a lot of people search for award space, and they're like, he doesn't exist. Why? And I'm not saying you need to lower your standards when it comes to men or award search tickets, but you might be waiting a while. So, there are ways around this, though. Different example. Let's say you're looking to go from the West Coast over to Asia. Origin Airport, WST, that'll get you all the West Coast airports, including Vancouver. Over to ASA, which is all the Asian airports. And you want to go next February. So I just picked the midpoint around Valentine's Day, plus or minus 14 days, less than 125,000 points. And it shows you have a lot of different options from Vancouver. You could use Alaska miles to fly from Vancouver over to Tokyo for 60,000 points, American Airlines, 60,000, Vancouver to Incheon, South Korea, 75,000 points, and then Qantas. Let's say you're like, Julia, it's February, and you know where Vancouver is? In Canada. And you know where I don't want to go in February? Canada. So let's say you just want to fly from Los Angeles to Asia. Filtered it down a little. Next February, you've got AMEX, Chase, Capital One, and Citi points, and you're oblivious to the fact that you can move your AMEX through Hawaii to Alaska. And you need 4 seats. What are your options? Nothing. You get nothing. But you don't have to give up hope yet, because while I love Seats.aero, and I am not sponsored by them, and even though a lot of my YouTube videos feature them, there are a lot of award deals you can't find through there. And we get a lot of questions about, hey, I search Seats.aero from Oklahoma City over to Clark, Philippines. Can I fly that in Q Suites? I've got Delta miles. And I'm like, you can't do that. But there are different ways to find this. So I would search these separately. We have a lot of luck on Singapore Airlines, and they don't show up on a lot of the search aggregator tools. Same with Cathay Pacific, Eva Air, Avianca, ANA, and the Awayz programs. There's ways around it that we cover on YouTube for how you can find some of these with Seats.aero and the other tools, but by and large, my team and I are searching these separately. And what you're searching for on those routes through Singapore, flights through Hong Kong with Cathay Pacific, or really anything with Cathay Pacific. If you want the Hello Kitty plane, or you want to fly in or out of Taipei, Eva Air is great. Avianca is great for different Star Alliance deals. ANA, Point Sisters did a great thing on Round the World and Star Alliance deals on ANA. And Awayz programs for lots of sweet spots with One World all over the world, whether you're trying to go Spain, London, Finland. You can use the Finnair thing to get to Hong Kong as well with Cathay Pacific. They have lots of different deals. So I'd search these separately. Usually what I'll do is start with Seats.aero, then search these. So let's do this example again. From Los Angeles to Asia, business class, next February, AMEX, Chase, Capital One, or Citi points, 4 people. All those types of points can transfer into Singapore Airlines. So you can, if you have a little bit of AMEX, a little bit of Chase, a little bit of Capital One, a little bit of Citi, because you had shiny card syndrome and people were like, it's the best deal ever, this card bonus deal will never come back, and oh my God, my favorite card, and then you were like, click on them, apply for them. I'm at 6/24 and I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and now I have these different 20 pockets of points I don't know how to aggregate. Singapore Airlines is here to help you, because you can aggregate all those into different airlines like Singapore. And it is going to be 123,000 points if you don't have saver space. This is the advantage rate. And this is a 12-hour flight from Los Angeles to Japan. So it's slightly more than the 10K rule. But if you don't have options where you're like, there's nothing else, we have 4 people, and more so this happens to me when I'm trying to get home. Like I'll find a really good business class deal to Asia, but then I'm like, I gotta get home. We tend to fly Singapore Airlines back a lot because they tend to be a little bit more expensive, but a lot more availability. Don't hold out for wait lists. 103.5 is a lot nicer of a price, but usually I won't move points into Singapore in hopes of a wait list. I will just book the flight deal that I want right then and there. Other options. If you have some flexibility, you have more options. Like if you have the flexibility to not bring your children or your P2, you have more options. So let's say all right, I'm trying to get from Los Angeles to Asia in business class next February. I've got AMEX, Chase, Capital One, and Citi points, and I don't need my kids. Well, I only need 2 seats now, so I don't have kids. It would be 115,000 points to fly this via Cathay, which is slightly better than Singapore's 123,000. If you're like, all right, welcome to the Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor, children. Sorry, you've been eliminated. 115,000, you and P2 can fly Los Angeles through Chicago into Hong Kong this way. And if you're just like, sorry, P2, you didn't make the cut, you can save yourself even more points by flying solo, 84,000 miles with just Cathay Pacific if you only needed 1 seat. So as you watch a lot of people on Instagram, just know the internet is an illusion, and a lot of us are not trying to book so many seats at once. It makes it a lot harder. It's doable, but just realistically keep in mind that's what's going on a lot of the time, is it's so much easier to find 1 or 2 seats. Where you should search versus where you should book. So Some websites do a lot better with having really good calendars where you can find great flight deals. Some websites do better with better pricing. The Venn diagram is not quite two circles. Air France is kind of in the middle, and that's it. So I like to search on United.com, but then once I find a good deal on United.com, I will price check it against Air Canada or Avianca, where they usually, for overseas trips, might be selling it for fewer points. So example, here is a flight from Newark over to London. Lots of great sweet spots over to London now. This is October, and then business class, you can find it for 80,000 points plus $5.60 on United, which is pretty good. And the 80,000 is usually 88, but if you have the United Explorer card, you get access to more award availability, and they usually give you a discount. So that's pretty good. You can find it for cheaper on Life Miles with Avianca. So instead of 80,000 points, which is not bad, you could fly this for 45,000 points in business class, direct from Newark over to London with United Polaris, and they don't pass along the fuel surcharges with Avianca. So the taxes are really low with United, $5.60, but they're not terrible here with Avianca, so that is an option as well. Here's another thing. So let's say that you want to search on American Airlines, or you can search Alaska using Seats.aero. But you don't have American Airlines miles, and you don't have Alaska miles, and by the time you watch this recording, Hawaiian miles don't transfer to Alaska. You can oftentimes book the same things through the Awayz programs. So here's an example. On AmericanAirlines.com, we're searching for Dallas-Fort Worth over to Helsinki, Finland next July in business class. And then when you're on the American Airlines website, you want to click on the calendar and then filter this thing to say business/first. And this will show you the calendar of when you can find good business or first class deals. And it will highlight them in green for you. So here there's 4 different dates where you could fly from Dallas to Helsinki for 57.5 thousand points and only $5.60, which is great. But if you're like, I don't have American Airlines miles and they don't have any transfer partners, what can I do? You could buy them. It's usually kind of expensive to buy American Airlines miles. So what I would do instead is search for this on the Awayz programs, because you can find the same thing sometimes. This one was available on finair.com from Dallas to Helsinki on July. Business class, it's just a little bit more. 62.5 thousand points instead of 57.5, 5,000 more, plus a little bit more in taxes and fees. It's a little bit more, but if there's a transfer bonus going on, or you're like, I've got a lot of stuff that'll transfer over into Awayz, which is pretty much everything, you could do a roundabout way, this way. I also PS searched this on British Airways. It was available, but the taxes and fees were a lot higher. So if you're seeing something like that on British Airways where the taxes are like $700 or something, try Qatar, try Finair. You might find the same thing, same amount of points, save yourself a couple $100 in taxes, which is very meaningful if you're booking a lot of tickets. SkyTeam. Delta, Virgin Atlantic, and Air France are all pretty good as far as the searchability of their website and finding good award deals. Delta, you can search the whole calendar. Air France, you just leave the date blank. You can search the whole calendar. Virgin Atlantic has the reward seat checker. You're probably not booking through Delta unless you find like an anomaly. Usually, I'm booking clients through Virgin Atlantic or Air France instead. Another thing that people ask me about pretty often is flights to Hawaii. Hawaiian Airlines calendar, it's not very easy to find the saver space deals to Hawaii, but you can often, you know where to look, search for flights from the West Coast like San Francisco or Los Angeles over to Honolulu. 40,000 points per person one way with lie flat seats, not bad. They're hard to find. So what I would do instead of searching on Hawaiian directly is search on JetBlue using Seats.aero because they support JetBlue. If you filter the operating carrier down to Hawaiian Airlines, then you can find all the different dates where they have saver space on JetBlue. It'll say like 55,000 points or something with JetBlue. Don't book it through JetBlue. That just lets you know what dates are probably also available to check on Hawaiian Airlines, so then you can more surgically go in and search day by day because they don't have a calendar feature. Does that make sense? If you have an advanced itinerary, like an around the world or a multi-stop or complimentary stopover in a specific city, that's not what aggregation tools are for. Like, what are you going to tell Seats.aero for around the world? Like, you can't type that in. You can't type that into Point Me, you can't type that into Realm or Points Yeah or any of the other ones. Because the more advanced and specific, the less foolproof it's going to be to find flights. So a lot of times people are like, okay, I'm piecing together different pieces of information that I got at this conference. I heard about Around the World. I heard about Seats.aero. How do I do these two things together? Those two things don't belong together. So for these, might involve a little bit more studying or just hiring a person to do it for you, but the more advanced and specific, the less foolproof it'll be. Usually what I'll do is I will just say, how do I get over the ocean? My planning heuristics usually involve asking my husband, hey, when can you take PTO next? And he'll name a month. And then I will Google best places to go in August or whatever. And then I'll pick a continent or a region of the world based off of the weather reports. And then I will figure out how to get to that continent. And usually I will find a flight there, and I will find a flight back that is not to the same airport. And that's for a couple reasons. One, I like to see multiple countries with every trip. And it also makes it a lot easier to find award availability if you're not like, I need to do like that JFK to Milan both ways. If you're like, well, let's fly into Germany and then fly back from wherever there's a good deal, you're much more likely to find good business class deals. And then once I have the over the ocean pieces ready to go, then I'll piece together the rest with positioning flights. I'll find hotels at that point, the connecting point within Europe or within Asia, et cetera. So that's my general heuristics, is search one way at a time, focus on getting over the ocean first, then get back over the ocean, then the rest from there. That was a lot with flights, which we'll get to questions in a bit. Hotel is a lot easier than flights, and you can most of the time find what you're trying to do just with the hotel websites. But if you can't, because there's a very specific hotel or hard to book hotel or weird use case, there's a couple of things I would recommend. If you're like, I'll go wherever, I just need to maximize my hotel points. Is anybody sitting on like a lot of Hilton, ISG, Marriott, or whatever points, and you're like, what do I do with this? I don't know how to maximize them. Okay, not too many of you, that's good. If you were ashamed to raise your hand, then go to Rooms.aero. If you're like, I have a specific hotel in mind, but I can't find available dates, is anybody like that? Where you're like, you're all just good with hotels. Okay, cool. So for anybody who's just ashamed to raise their hand, Rooms.aero, if let's say you have a lot of IHG points that you are trying to maximize because you got shiny card syndrome, you open some cards, you're not sure what to do with these, go to Rooms.aero, filter it to you're looking for 4 nights in a row with availability because IHG has 4th night free if you have the credit card. And then you can filter the value to say, I only want stuff that's over 5 cents per point. And then Rooms.aero will say, LOL, go fly a kite. That's not happening with IHG points. So then you like lower the standards and then you eventually get to like 2 cents per point, which maybe you'll find something. And that thing is probably going to be the Kimpton Seafire, where you can book it for about 70,000 points per night. So for 4 nights, you're spending 210,000 points, which is really good considering this hotel would normally be $1,400 some per night. So that's one of the fan favorite uses of IHG points. If you have a very specific hotel you want to find, like the Alila Ventana Big Sur, Park Hyatt Kyoto, Park Hyatt Paris Vendôme, the ones that like people post about on Instagram and you're like, they have 40 cottages on property and like it's not happening. I like Awayz for this, Awayz. Because what you'll do is you'll search Alila Ventana Big Sur. Here's the check-in date, here's the checkout date, and there are no available rooms on your selected dates. And you're like, oh no, what do I do? You can filter in and view the entire calendar, so it will show you all of the dates where they have stuff available. So weekends, no. If you're in San Francisco and you want to just like take a 3-hour drive, maybe. So the 45,000 point places are where you can see there are standard rooms, 60,000, 66 is where there's standard suites, 90,000 is where you've just got premium suites. Sometimes you can find more availability if you say, I want to stay 2 or more nights. And sometimes, does anybody have like a lot of those standard suite upgrade certificates sitting in their Hyatt account once you hit a Hyatt milestone? If the standard room isn't available, but the standard suite is, you can call Hyatt and say, hey, I'd like to book this on the 17th. Please use 45,000 points plus the free night upgrades, or plus the upgrade certificate, and they'll just book you straight into the standard suite, even if no standard rooms are available. So you could do that. You can find me on Instagram at geobreezetravel.com. If you enjoyed the session, tag me, say hi, and tag Travel Marcon as well. We're gonna open it up for questions with the mic. If you have any questions that are specifically like, hey, I wanna get from here to here on this date, I've got this kind of points. We're not gonna do a live award searching right now. Just send all those to geobreezetravel.com/request. It's a free form, fill it in. A real human from my team will reach out to you, not today, because that real human might be me. And I'm not reaching out to you today. So just fill out that form and then we'll get back to you.